With Abdulfattah Adeyemi, you unlock a world of wisdom, growth, and connection. It's time to live, love, learn, and build a better world together. Be inspired. Be motivated. Edit your universe.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. My name is Abdulfattah Adeyemi. I want to welcome all of us to today's lecture, which is reaching you from the platform of Parental Family Counseling Center, Abuja, Nigeria, and Parental from all over the world, wherever you are receiving us from. This is reaching you from Nigeria. The topic of our discussion is how our parents sometimes make us fail in marriage. Now, when love becomes control, that means something is wrong. And that is because many marriages do not collapse because of hatred or because of infidelity. That's something that has been trending for some time. They collapse quietly under the weight of too many voices. Too many voices. Among the most powerful of these voices are the voices of parents. And these are voices that we are trained from childhood to trust, to fear, and to obey. When these voices enter a marriage without boundaries, they do not arrive as enemies. They arrive wearing the familiar garment of love. They arrive because of concern. We are concerned about your marriage. We are concerned about what's going on, what is happening, and so on and so forth. These voices arrive wearing the guise of sacrifice. We are sacrificing our time for you to ensure that your marriage is okay. And sometimes they arrive looking like experience. They say, oh, we have been through this before. We have experienced what we are going through. We know how it feels. We know what it is. So we are talking to you from experience. And that is precisely what makes their influence to be so dangerous. What if the experience was wrong? What if they are comparing two things that are not comparable? What if their concerns are not necessary? And what if the love they are trying to show, they are showing this love in a wrong way, or maybe they are just biased? So in many homes, control is rarely announced as control. They always come in form of something else. They come, control and interference. They come in form of, I only want what is best for you. I cannot do without telling you the truth. Or some people say, I've walked this road before. That is the experience we are talking about. From experience, I want to tell you this and that and that. I need you to do this one. You have to do this one. Don't agree to that kind of arrangement. Don't support that kind of a mission. Don't be part of it. You have to do this. This is what you are supposed to say. Whenever this matter happens, you are supposed to respond like this. Then they will call back to ensure whether you actually responded the way they put the script on your head. And then you will like dancing to somebody else's script without you realizing it. At the point you will even think you are the one who is the owner of that stupid idea that somebody else put in your head because of their own experiences that was not in any way in resemblance to yours. Yet, when advice becomes constant direction, when concern becomes pressure, and when guidance leaves no room for independent decision making, love will quietly transform into dominance. The child grows older, the child gets married, and the child begins to build a home, but never truly becomes an adult. A marriage cannot thrive when one partner is still emotionally governed by another household, where the law and the instructions and the authority still come from somewhere else. This is where the in-laws place is like the headquarters, while the couple's home is just a branch home. Order from above. Then the parents' home will be the above, where the orders come from. And then the home of these couples will just be like the branch office where they have to follow strictly the instructions that will come from the orders from above. Islam recognizes the honored status of parents, no doubt about it. But Islam also recognizes the sanctity of a marriage. The moment a nikah is performed, a new responsibility is born. The one that requires emotional independence, moral courage, and justice. So when parents are allowed to occupy the seat of authority that rightly belongs to the spouse, the marriage begins to suffocate. Not because parents are evil, not because they are bad people, not because they are stupid, not because they don't have good ideas, but because love without limits can become a form of harm eventually. So this lecture is not a call to dishonor our parents. It's a call to understand that love must be guided by wisdom. A successful marriage is not built by rejecting parents, and it's not built by surrendering your authority and your autonomy to them either. But it is built by learning where love ends and where control must stop. Only then can a home find tranquility, and only then can obedience to Allah be complete. So, in order to approach this talk, which is of course very, very broad, let us zoom in at the following 7 key points. Yes, 7 key points. And inshallah, I'm going to be taking it one after the other so that we can follow it and we make the best out of it, inshallah. Point number 1, poisoning the heart against the spouse. Poisoning, as in putting poison in the heart of one spouse against the other. One of the most silent yet lethal weapons against marriage is not open opposition, but repetitive negative suggestion. Rarely does it begin with outright hostility. It often starts with, harmless comments, with some subtle comparisons. This marriage is not like that marriage. This one is not like that. Don't you see your younger sister? Don't you see your elder brother? Don't you see what your neighbor chose? Don't you see what your mates are doing? That's how it starts. And then sometimes it goes into constant reminders of your spouse's shortcomings. They are not very rich in their family, so they don't know what riches is all about. They said his father couldn't keep his wives. They all divorced him. So what do you expect? Her mother didn't stay in her husband's house. And what do you expect? Those kind of comments, Allahu Akbar, you know what they can do eventually. So these comments, sometimes, they often start from before the spouses even got married. The way they looked at the guy that wants to marry their daughter, or the kinds of comments they passed on the lady, all this already reveals their perception of the suitors. Comments that are derogatory, sometimes condescending, and often judgmental, and in most cases dismissive. They be like, okay, who are you? You want to marry our daughter? Who are you? Or who are your parents? What do you have? Where do you work? How much do you earn? Are you a gold digger? Do that kind of thing. They look at a boy from north to south because he is showing up to marry their daughter. They ask him point blank, are you a gold digger? Or they have some ways to insinuate it as if you don't have anything and you are coming here to come and marry our daughter. Can you take care of our daughter? Or do you think you are good enough for our son at the other side? They will look at the lady. Do you think you are good enough for our son? Look, our son likes ABCD. Do you think you have what it takes? Then they will check him or her out as if in a slave market or like a piece of furniture for home decoration. They weigh them, they look at them, and they say some of those things. Sometimes these gestures are non-spoken. They are non-verbal communication that are meant to be derogatory, that are meant to be condescending, that are meant to be demeaning and dismissive of the spouse. Before they marry, they're already looking at them and wondering, who is this one? Where did this one come from? And these comments, over time, these words settle into the heart. The words shape perception and rewrite reality. What was once patience becomes irritation. What was once love becomes doubt, and what was once mercy becomes suspicion. When parents or close relatives continually criticize a spouse, they are not merely offering opinions, they are planting seeds. Each remark, no matter how small, weakens the emotional bond between husband and wife. They will be like, oh, your husband has started again, or your wife has started behaving like a witch again, or those kind of things. Or maybe they begin to backbite your husband behind your back. Oh, that your husband, that is ABCD. Or, oh, that your wife, I hope she now takes her bath regularly. Those kind of things. The affected spouse begins to see their partner through borrowed eyes. What you didn't notice before, they start expanding it. What you didn't want to see before, they start zooming in. And areas you don't want to touch, they start scrolling on. They call your attention to some of the faults that you have tried to ignore. And, they are no longer judging with fairness or compassion. Eventually, even good intentions from the spouse are interpreted as flaws, and every disagreement becomes evidence of a bad choice. Whenever there's a quarrel, then they call your attention. Didn't we even say you should not marry this person? Anything or anytime they notice there's any problem in the marriage, then they quickly made it to be that it's your fault, you chose badly. And then you start feeling guilty, truly, that you actually made a wrong choice because there was an event. They make you to have judgment on your destiny. There's often an uncle in the family that thinks he knows better than anyone else. And there's an auntie who has positioned herself as the one with an eagle eye to see the faults in the prospective spouse. Whereas, the point is that parents or these uncles and aunties, they are trying to repeat patterns they themselves experienced. Some of them had been through very bad marriages in their life. Unresolved anger, disappointment, or trauma that they were carrying over from their own marriages. This intergenerational transmission can manifest as criticism, as comparisons, or constant warnings. When some people are going to get married like this, the way they will be advising them, it is as if they are going to war. They'll just be like, look, you are going to get married now. Marital home is not a bed of roses. There will be difficulties, there will be problems, there will be war, there will be tribulations, there will be trials. They'll be warning them. Be careful, don't let your husband take advantage of you. Be careful, don't let your wife, disrespect you. Don't agree for anybody. Don't allow any in-law to come and tell you how to live your life. They will be telling them as if they are going for a war, as if they are going for a contest, as if they are going for a competition. And all of these are happening because of what these aunties and uncles have experienced before in their own marriage, or what they're even going through as we speak now. While their intentions may be rooted in care, this repeated behavior subtly teach children to distrust their spouse. It teaches them to normalize emotional manipulation or unconsciously replicate the same patterns that these aunties and uncles have been through in their lives. Recognizing these red flags, this persistent negative commentary, comparisons, or attempts to control marital decisions, recognize these red flags is very, very essential. Awareness allows couples to respond with wisdom rather than emotional reaction. You have to break harmful cycles before they take root in your marriage. Islam places immense emphasis on protecting the heart from injustice. Backbiting, suspicion, and constant fault finding are not light matters in the sight of Allah, especially when they destroy a lawful bond that Allah Himself has sanctified. A spouse who listens to such talk from the parents, from the siblings, from friends, and from those aunties and uncles, every family you have them. Any spouse who listens to such talks may believe they are being respectful, but in reality, They are allowing oppression to enter into their home. They are allowing doubt and suspicion to enter into their house. Silence in the face of injustice is not neutrality. It is participation. So sometimes you have to respectfully disagree, or you walk away from such kind of advice or such kind of derogatory statement that some of these aunties and uncles will make. No marriage can survive when one partner's heart is slowly turned against the other by external voices. Love requires protection. Loyalty demands discretion. When a spouse becomes the subject of continuous negative narration, intimacy dies long before divorce is even spoken. Poisoning the heart does not break a marriage in one day. It kills it gradually, slowly, until nothing remains but resentment and regret. Take care and take note of this, couples. It is not every comment that is meant well. It's not every comment that will repair your marriage. Some of these comments are like seeds some people are planting, and gradually they begin to grow and fester. Any day your spouse should make a mistake, your mind will go straight to that bad comment they made. And you start believing it, you start adding one or two together, and before you know it, your marriage is going down the drain. May Allah save us from that. That was that about the comments that affect the heart. Point 2, raising good children but failing to raise spouses. You want me to say that again? Raising good children, that is talking to parents. Raising good children but failing to raise spouses. Many parents succeed in raising obedient sons, and they raise dutiful daughters, but unknowingly they fail to prepare them for marriage. That is the problem. From childhood, some are conditioned to prioritize parental approval above every other thing, to avoid disagreement at any cost, and to equate righteousness with silence. That is how some parents brought up their children. While such training may produce compliant children, obedient children, nice children, it often produces adults who lack the emotional strength and moral clarity required to lead or sustain a marriage. You've raised a good child, but you have not raised a good husband. You've raised a very good girl, but you have not raised a good wife. A husband who has never learned to assert himself respectfully will struggle to protect his wife. He will not know how to protect his wife because he was not brought up to assert himself, to say this is what I want or this is what I don't want, to say yes or no. He is branded as a bad boy. But his ability to say yes or no and mean it is one of the things he needs to be a good husband. Get it? A wife who has been taught that her voice must always be suppressed may find it impossible to advocate for herself within her own home with her own husband. In both cases, marriage becomes an arena of fear rather than partnership. No wonder these children, when they get married, they are totally confused. They begin to tiptoe. They don't even know what to say. They don't know what to say that is convincing, and they don't know what to say that's going to change a narrative. They don't know how to even explain themselves. You must have seen situations where some sisters-in-law will come and frustrate the life of the wife of their brother. And when you now ask this lady, okay, what happened? She doesn't even know how to explain herself. Allahu Akbar. Her mother raised her to be a very good girl, but they didn't raise her to know how to defend herself. The spouse feels abandoned, not because of physical absence, but because of emotional loyalty. The emotional loyalty is still tethered elsewhere, still tethered to her parents' home, not realizing that she is now married. You understand what I'm saying now? Some of the guys, they have been brought up to be nice boys. They have been brought up to be, obedient to the parents. He was not supposed to even look up to his father and say, Baba, this is what I want. Talk less of telling the mother, no, I don't want that. And when he gets married, everybody will just be like, why is it that it is his wife that is controlling him? Yes, the wife will control him because he never was brought up to know that people can be very controlling. He didn't know how to assert himself, how to create a space for himself, and how to be the authority in the home. Allahu Akbar. Islam does not raise perpetual children. Islam raises responsible adults. You want me to say that again? Islam is not in support of raising children that will be children for the rest of their lives. Islam prefers that you raise responsible adults even from when they are children. The Prophet nurtured companions who were gentle yet firm, companions who were respectful yet decisive. He did not teach them to obey blindly, but to stand for truth, to stand for justice and accountability, especially within their households. A marriage requires courage, the courage to speak, the courage to protect, the courage to decide, and sometimes the courage to respectfully disagree. Because you are an obedient child doesn't mean you shouldn't disagree if it goes against what is right. When parents train their children to be good sons and daughters without teaching them how to be good husbands and wives, marriages suffer quietly. Love alone cannot compensate for emotional immaturity. You know now, parents, you are raising boys and girls who are not matured emotionally. They are easily toppled, they are easily disturbed, they are easily broken. They are not matured. They may look big in the body. They may look matured physically, but are they matured emotionally? Without the ability to shift from childlike obedience to adult responsibility, the marital home remains fragile, caught between two worlds, and fully belonging to neither here nor there. So that goes to parents who raise good children, but they don't raise good spouses. It is one thing that the child is obedient to you at home. It's another thing that the child learns to be responsible as an adult. I hope you get that gist now. All right, let's move on to point number 3. When parenting failures reap marital consequences. Aha! This is where parents failed and some of them are not ready to accept that they failed. Look, you think because you send your children to school, they have 3 degrees, 4 masters, and 4 more PhDs. You think that is all? Because your child listened to you, finished school and got a job, receiving salaries and sending money to you, you think that is all? No, that's not all. Sometimes the way we raise these children, we have already failed from the onset. And let me explain this for you to get what I'm trying to say. Here's the gist now. Beyond obedience and silence, many parenting styles unintentionally, now this is not something they did deliberately, but unintentionally, they manufacture personalities that struggle deeply in marriage. Unintentionally. They didn't know that it's a kind of style that they were using that was wrong. It is not that your daughter has married a wrong husband. It's not that your son has married a wrong wife. It is just that your own training style, your parenting style was wrong from beginning. Do you want me to say that again? It is not the fault of your son or your daughter in marriage that their marriage is broken or that their marriages have problems or they are struggling deeply in marriage. Is because your parenting style was wrong from the onset. One of the most common is a mommy's boy or its equivalent. You know, when we say mommy's boy, that's the adult who is emotionally fused with a parent, usually the mother, and unable to detach without guilt or fear. That is mommy's boy. We have seen the situations where the husband's mother is the domineering one. She controls everything and everyone. She dominates every decision, and she decides every move in that family. As for the mommy's boy, he will report every fly, every mosquito, and every cockroach to his mother. If he is angry with his wife, he will go to his mother's house to eat or to sleep, and the mother will not say, go back to your wife. The mother will even welcome him and cook for him and make him see the difference between what she cooks and what the wife cooks. Subhanallah. This mommy's boy seeks his mother's permission before even sleeping with his wife. And if he buys a gift, the mother must approve it first before he presents it to his wife. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. If he had any problem with his wife, the mother will have to step in before the son will forgive the wife. If she says forgive her, then he will forgive her. If she says don't forgive her, then he will not forgive her. If she says don't talk to her, then he will keep malice with her. And from time to time, checking out with the mother, Mama, can I start talking to her now? Excuse me, madam, what kind of a child have you raised? Awuzubillah. There's also, look, you only need to listen to the ladies who are married to mommy's boy for you to see the kind of hell they are living. But that's not all. There's also that of the wife's father who behaves in similar way. You know, mommy's boy, daddy's girl. He commands what should be done and what shouldn't be done. He sanctions and prohibits. He could ask the daughter to run any errand without informing the husband, talk less of getting the consent of the husband. As far as he is concerned, the son-in-law is just an appendage to his daughter. The son-in-law is voiceless, is spineless, is worthless, and is invisible accessory that is just called a husband. Such individuals often outsource emotional decisions to their parents. Allahu Akbar. Now you will see a lot of this daddy's daughter kind of a thing. Imagine a father wanting to take his daughter on Umrah. This daughter is married. He didn't inform the son-in-law, nor seek his consent, or even just for his information, only for him to hear the announcement that your wife is going to Umrah with me tomorrow. And the guy was like, but I didn't know. Why do I have to tell you? You know why? Because the father-in-law has the money. He has the money. He has the authority. He has the control, and he thinks he can just do whatever he likes, not regarding the fact that the daughter is already married to a man who is a human being and who is supposed to be in charge and in control. You get what I'm trying to say now? Such individuals, they often outsource emotional decisions to their parents. That's what I'm trying to say. They compare their spouses unfairly. That, okay, are you a man? Are you a man? Can't you be like my daddy that is giving all the money? Or they seek parental validation in marital conflicts. My husband just bought me a dress. Should I wear it? Why? Because the dress is of low quality compared to the one my father normally buys for me. That is a failed parent there. In this dynamic, the spouse is not married to one person, but to an invisible third presence that dominates the relationship. Another destructive outcome is the spoiled child. Yes, this is another one. Spoiled child. You know, we talk about mommy's boy and daddy's girl. This one is just a spoiled brat, raised without boundaries, raised without accountability or consequences for wrongdoings. When parents constantly rescue their children from discomfort, they rescue them from failure, protect them from making mistakes, or shield them from taking responsibilities, they raise adults with a deep sense of entitlement. In marriage, this manifests as unrealistic expectations, constant service, zero tolerance for inconvenience, and gross emotional immaturity. Such individuals interpret compromise as oppression, and they interpret responsibility as punishment, and they leave their spouses exhausted. Allahu Akbar. These people are projects when it comes to marriage. Their spouses are exhausted, and their spouses are unseen, unheard of, and their spouses are irrelevant, and their spouses don't matter at all to them because of the way they were brought up. A closely related problem is the absence of anti-fragility, the ability to endure stress. Parents, they don't bring their children up with the ability to endure conflict and the ability to endure hardship without breaking. Some parents, out of excessive love or fear, they shield their children from all forms of difficulty. They be like, okay, we don't want our children to suffer the way we suffered. These children enter marriage untested. Emotionally, they are brittle. They are like breakable bottles, and they are ill-equipped to handle disagreement or sacrifice. When marital challenges arise, as they inevitably do, such individuals either collapse, or they explode, or they retreat, or they just begin to make some quotations like that, I'm in a toxic marriage. My husband is draining my energy. My wife is frustrating my energy. She's a negative energy. All of those English they speak is because they were not brought up to have anti-fragility. They are just easily breakable. They can't endure anything. They can't survive a quarrel. They don't know how to agree or disagree. They cry because somebody else disagrees with them. It becomes an affront. Because somebody else tells them the truth, it becomes a sin. Because somebody else corrects them, it becomes a war. They say the person is being toxic because the person is not ready to tolerate their nonsense and the fact that they are spoiled brats. They don't want anybody to tell them the truth about how their parents have ruined their lives. There are also parents who raise children with authority but without empathy. This is another group of parents. We're having a gallery and exhibition of parents today. I need you to follow me through. These ones, they raise children with authority but without empathy. They create adults who replicate domination rather than partnership. You know, they learn that you can only resolve conflict with power, not communication. With tantrum, not explanation. With force, not with diplomacy. These are this kind of parents. They raise children who only believe in power, not communication. They raise girls that cannot communicate. The only communication she knows is to fight. The only communication she knows is to stalk. The only communication she knows is to keep malice, is to shut down. And she starts behaving like a wet hen. Aggressive, cantankerous, and stupidly arrogant for nothing. Her parents brought her up to compete with men. Her parents brought her up to see the man as a competition. Allahu Akbar. These are the kind of parenting styles that make children to think that life is all about power and power and power and quarrel and fight. They have turned marriage into war. They have turned marriages into a place where you go to do or die. Allahu Akbar. Where it is either your way or the highway. Allahu Akbar. And they don't realize when you tell them that they are behaving like tyrants, they don't understand what you are talking about. When you tell them that, look, brother, why are you behaving like Pharaoh? He doesn't understand what you mean. What do you mean? You have to discipline a woman. He thinks abusing a woman is discipline. He thinks raising hand against a woman is putting her in place. He doesn't understand any other language apart from violence. It's because of the way he was brought up, unfortunately, by some parents who still think they have succeeded in bringing up a child. Look, I don't care whether your child is rich or not. The fact that your boy of yesterday, who is now a man and is married, he behaves as if he has the DNA of Pharaoh in his system, that is what I'm complaining about. Many of your sons are Abu Jahl. They are wicked, they are cruel, they are cold. And you caused it. You brought them up that way. You show them that life is all about power and struggle. And the same with your girls. Some of them, they are not what you call them. They should be called Fir'aunatu, because that's exactly how they behave. They behave like Wamura'atuhu, the wife of Abu Lahab. Astaghfirullah, Allahu Akbar. On the opposite end of the spectrum, there are also children of parents who are absent and children who suffered absence and neglect from their parents. Some parents were physically present but emotionally unavailable. Others were both entirely missing. The father was not there, the mother was not there. And in some cases, it is a case of single parenting. As a man, your wife dies or your wife leaves, you refuse to marry another woman that will coach your girls to behave like women. And then you think only you as a man can raise girls. You now go ahead raising a male version of girls. And then these girls get married. They start looking at their husband as if they were exactly the same, if not that they are even better than the men. Look at you, madam. Your husband leaves or your husband dies, and then you refuse to get married. Then you raise boys that behave like girls. You are so proud that you have taught them how to cook. You've taught them how to make traditional soup. You taught them how to make the bed, how to make the house, how to keep the home. You domesticated these boys, and by the time they get married, how do they behave? They forget completely that they are men. There are aspects now, there are aspects of things that only a man can teach a man, only a woman can teach a woman. Don't let us jettison these important roles in the lives of these children. They enter adulthood without guidance, no role modeling, and no emotional safety. The boy doesn't have a father to complain to. The girl doesn't have a mother to confide in. There's no role model. They can say, okay, if my father were here, this is what he would do. Or my mother would have preferred to do so and so. They have absolutely nobody to model after. They were never taught how to communicate, how to regulate emotions, how to resolve conflict, or how to love responsibly. Marriage becomes their first classroom, and unfortunately, their spouse becomes their experiment. Trials and errors, cut and paste. Unfortunately, they fail at the end of it all. Neglected children often struggle with insecurity. They have fear of abandonment, or they have excessive self-reliance. They don't even need anybody. Some cling desperately, others refuse to depend on anyone at all. Then you think you are so happy you have raised an independent child, an independent girl. By the time she gets married, it becomes a problem. When it comes to roles and responsibilities, she doesn't know where to stop. She doesn't know where her husband starts. Both extremes damage intimacy. Without healthy parental styles, without healthy parental examples, these children may normalize dysfunction, something that is wrong. They think it is normal. They may tolerate abuse, or they may sabotage stability because chaos feels familiar to them. Imagine a lady who can't stand a man that won't beat her up. La ilaha illallah subhanakallahumma. She can't understand why a man cannot beat his wife. She grew up with a belief that physical abuse is normal. She doesn't have the capacity to stay in a marriage without the drama. Also, imagine a guy who secretly abhors his wife. He hates his wife because she's obedient. She's too obedient. Her commitment to religious activities irritates him somehow. And this is because he didn't grow up in a home with moral uprightness. They were all, in his family where he grew up, they were all luxuriating in ignorance and moral bankruptcy. Perhaps the most painful reality is that many marital problems are not created in adulthood. They are inherited from childhood. Parenting that fails to teach accountability, resilience, emotional intelligence, and boundaries does not end when the child grows up. It walks with them into their marriage, and it shapes how they love, how they argue, how they forgive, how they respect, and how they commit to the relationship. Islam calls parenting an amana, a trust, not merely provision and discipline. Children must be prepared not only to survive life, but to build healthy homes. When parents neglect this responsibility, whether through control, indulgence, or absence, their children pay the price later. Mostly, they pay it in their marriages, and sometimes they pay it in their relationship with others. Imagine how they behave even in their places of work. They are cantankerous, they are dramatic, they are performative. Imagine somebody fighting in public. Then you wonder, where did this one grow up from? Imagine somebody threatening to slap a colleague in the office. You wonder, what kind of a woman is this? A woman threatening to slap a male colleague in the office. Now, if you hear that she slaps her husband, you will not be surprised. And we have seen situations and cases where men cannot come out to complain how their wives were beating them up. I've heard of a lot of this one. A lot of it. It's always secret and hush-hush. Men who are physically abused by their wives. And then you wonder, whose daughter is this one? Now, take note of what I've been saying. Matters of parental style is a big issue. I want parents to take note of all of these things I'm saying. If you are guilty of this, better make corrections now before it is too late. And point number 4 is financial manipulation and dependency. Financial manipulation and dependency. This is another way through which parents can destabilize the marriages of their children. You see, money is one of the most powerful tools of influence, and in many families, it becomes a weapon against marital stability. Parents may fund weddings, yes. They may buy gifts, yes. They may fund the housing, rent accommodation for the children, yes. They may even furnish the accommodation, just like we do in some cases, yes. They even finance daily expenses, all with sincere intentions. But there's a downside to it. Gradually, they may attach expectations to their generosity. They expect some things from the couples, and this thing they're expecting will only serve the purposes of the parents. They won't serve the success of the marriage of the couples. Financial help, when it is tied to control, it will change from support to leverage. Decisions that should belong to husband and wife are subtly redirected by whoever has the money. When a couple is financially dependent on parents, independence is delayed, not only economically, but emotionally. Do you understand what I'm saying now? A spouse who provides the money often feels entitled to provide instructions at the same time, often feel entitled to override decisions most of the time, and they feel entitled to interfere in conflicts. The same thing with the parents. If it's the parents that are providing the money that the couples are using, they think they have the right to give instruction, to override decisions, and to interfere in conflicts. The married couple, instead of learning problem solving and responsibility, they learn compliance. And over time, the marriage loses its dignity and resentment replaces gratitude. Islam encourages responsibility. It encourages self-reliance and clarity in financial dealings. The Prophet ﷺ praised earning through one's own effort, and the Prophet warned against humiliation and injustice even when wrapped in clarity or when wrapped in charity. Even when you are doing charity for somebody, you should not humiliate that person. That's what the Prophet said. I'm not saying that we should not support or assist the young couple in marital finances. You understand what I mean now? I'm talking to parents now. I hope you can hear me. Mummies and daddies, aunties and uncles. I'm not saying that we should not support or assist the young couple in marital finances. But what I'm saying is that a marriage cannot mature while it is financially controlled solely by parents. 100% by parents. The question is, listen to this now. Is it possible for parents to allow their married children to grow on their own? I'm asking. Can we allow the boy to earn a living so that he can pay the dowry from his own personal income? I'm asking. Can the girl still respect the boy, having seen that everything they have or own was provided by the parents? Can the girl still respect the boy, knowing fully well that he didn't do anything? It's the parents who got the house, it's the parents who furnished the house, it's the parents who, even the car they are using, it's the parents who gave it to them. How much respect will the girl still have for the boy, knowing fully well that he didn't do nada? He didn't spend anything on her. Everything is spent or bought, including gift and what have you, including going out on date or buying this and that for her. They were all financed by the boy's parent. Where is the respect going to come from to the boy as a provider for his family? You parents, you hear what I'm asking now. Can the boy's pride and self-confidence still be intact, seeing how helpless he has become without the perpetual financial support of the parents? I'm asking. Because my own opinion, listen to this now, this is my own opinion, and it's very personal. You may agree, you may not agree, but let me still tell you what I think. My own opinion is that financial assistance should empower the couples, not enslave them. Parents should mentor the couples, not subjugate them. Parents should assist the couples, not repress their growth. Parents should finance their basics, not buy their conscience. Parents should build their capacities, not kill their potentials. And parents should support the couples, not hijack the marriage. That is what I'm saying. Independence may be difficult for a young couple at the beginning, but dependency that compromises marital authority, that compromises couples' autonomy and peace is far more costly at the long run. And when the parents use money as a means to dictate how a home should be run, it violates the spirit of ta'awun. That's assistance that Islam encourages. The Quran says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Help and assist one another in righteousness and in piety. So that ta'awunu, assistance and help to one another, the fact that you are using that money not as help, not as assistance, but as a leverage for you to be able to run the house, to run the home of the couples for them, that is where the problem lies. It has violated that spirit of ta'awun. I hope parents understand what I'm saying. This is not to say that you should not assist them, but don't spoil their lives for them. Don't kill their potentials to grow. Allow them to struggle for themselves and allow them to have pride in the little they have. They don't have to live a kind of lifestyle to appease you. They don't have to live some kind of lifestyle in order to satisfy your friends. I'm talking to you parents now. You have very big friends. You have friends from all class of life. But your children are not your friends. They don't have the means. Everybody knows. These are young graduates. They even hardly have a job. And the job they are having doesn't pay them that much. But you go there, organize multi-million naira wedding for them to impress yourself and your friends. But in what way have you helped these couples? Have you empowered them by doing that? Or you have set some kind of standard for them that will make the 100k that the husband is earning, make it to become worthless in the eyes of the 10 million naira cake that you make for them in the day of their wedding. Reason this matter now. Let's look at this matter together. Let's look at it together now. What do we think we are doing as parents? We don't empower them, but want to impress our friends. Look at the wedding of my son. Did you see the wedding of my daughter? Honestly, I'm not saying parents should not do whatever they want, but you got to be realistic with these children. Don't do this, don't overdo it at the detriment of the sense of independence of your children. Allow them to grow, fi sabilillah. Even if it is 10k that this boy can afford, let him use it as dowry for his wife and let the wife accept it wholeheartedly. They know their level, they know they are just growing. We are not impressing anyone. We just want these children to grow. So support them where you can. Assist them wherever you can, but don't spoil their lives for them in the name of wanting to support them. And don't use it as a means to control their lives for them. Now, you are the one setting the standard. You are the one creating the standard for these children. You want them to achieve what you could not achieve in 30 years. You want them to achieve it in 3 years. Think about this matter now. You know how much you parents, you worked hard. You struggled hard. Over 3 decades, over 30-something years, you've been working hard, doing business, gathering money. And you expect these children who are just finishing school yesterday, you expect them to achieve the same thing in 3 years. And so because of that, you give them plenty money, not because you are trying to assist them, but because you are trying to control them. You can assist them if you can, but please don't hijack their families from them. Allow these young people to breathe. Allow them to have a life. Allow them to build themselves. Allow husband to appreciate his wife for who she is, and allow the wife to accept her husband for whom he is. That is the point I'm trying to make in that point number 4. Now, if you are not bored yet, let me move on to point number 5. And point 5 is when culture overrides Islam. This is another problem that parents need to take note of. One of the most subtle yet devastating intrusions into marriage occurs when culture is given a higher authority than Islam. Traditions, customs, and family norms, many of them are inherited without question. All of these begin to dictate marital decisions, expectations, and conflict resolutions. What starts as, okay, this is how we do things here, this is how we do it in our family, this is how our culture does it. What starts just like that, they begin to transform into an unchallengeable law, even when it contradicts justice, mercy, and the clear guidance of the Quran and Sunnah. In such marriages, spouses are judged not by taqwa or character, but by tribe, by status, by family name, or by conformity to tradition. Rights granted by Islam are denied because culture finds them inconvenient. A wife's complaints are dismissed because they say, no, here in this culture, wives don't talk, they keep quiet. A husband's authority is undermined because they say, no, it is the aunties and uncles who decide, including what name you are to give your child. And they make them to see that oppression is normalized with some of these cultures. You keep them silent, you make them to become dormant, they don't have any voice, they don't have any decisions, everything is subsumed under some other authorities that are not Islam. Because one uncle or one auntie or one grandpa somewhere is bellowing and belching orders that goes against the principle of Islam, they expect you to follow all of that too. All in the name of preserving customs or family norms. So many Muslim marriages are conducted in accordance to the Sharia, but when it comes to living together as a Muslim couple, then certain family traditions become sacrosanct, and Islam is reduced to a ceremonial role rather than a living guide. It's like we invite the Prophet Sunnah to witness the nikah, then we tell the Sunnah to mind its business afterwards. That's exactly what we are doing. Allahu Akbar Kabira. On the day of the nikah, you see the scholars who sit down, they do the nikah the way it's supposed to be done, you know, those kind of things. Everything goes best. In fact, Sunnah, check. Dowry, check. You know, intermingling of sexes that is absent, check. Decorum followed, check. No alcohol is served, check. Everything is halal, check. The wife wears hijab, check. The brother behaves like Sahaba, check. But by the time we are doing the wedding itself, we tell Sunnah to mind its business. We tell all the scholars they are not invited. We invite our own kinds from our own families, cultures, and customs. We ask the husband and wife to come and dance in public. We remove the hijab from the head of the girl and she reveals some part of her chest for others to see. They dance shamelessly in public for others to see, to record, to film, to video, to post on the social media, to spread around, and everybody be like, look, is that Aisha? Is that Aisha and her new husband? People have never seen Aisha without hijab before. But for the first time, they saw Aisha without hijab, and they could even, some men, Allahu Akbar, some men can buy bra for her, because by looking at her chest, they know the size of whatever is under there that was hardly covered in the first place. A'udhu billah. And then we like tell Sunnah to mind his business. We drink alcohol, we serve alcohol, we do haram things, we do all sorts of things. I heard, thank God I'm never invited to such weddings. I heard of a wedding where the souvenir they were sharing with people contained weed. And some of the food they served people had some powder of weed in it. And then people began to dance as if they were possessed by shaitan. A'udhu billah. And I want to believe that even shaitan got to that wedding and he said, A'udhu billah. He went away from there because this was too much for people who claim to be Muslim. All in the name of following some cultures or some customs. It doesn't matter whether it's your traditional custom or Western culture or whatever culture you have brought upon yourselves. Please forgive me for speaking like this. I'm just appalled by what some parents think Islam is. You hypocrites, you tell your children to follow Islam, to follow Sunnah. On the day of their wedding, you throw everything down the drain. You ask your children to join you in the mosque. You ask them to come and pray with you. You ask them to come and attend Islamic programs with you. But when it comes to wedding and everything, you throw everything away. People were drinking alcohol and all sorts of people were there. you ask the learned people, you ask your Salatu group members to go home because you don't want to be doing those things in their presence. You ask the imam of your masjid not to attend because you know you are going to be ashamed of yourself with the kind of thing you are doing. What is wrong with us now? The Prophet ﷺ confronted this danger directly by dismantling tribal superiority and blind loyalty. Your son is a Hafiz. Your girl has memorized the Quran up to half of the Quran. If she had not even fully memorized the Quran, you throw all of that down the drain and you made her to dance in public without hijab. Allah is going to judge you for that. The Prophet ﷺ reminded the Ummah that honor lies in righteousness, not lineage, and that injustice remains injustice even if it is culturally accepted. Any practice that harms a marriage, that demeans the couple, that embarrasses their dignity and honor, any practice that silences the truth or enables oppression, such practice cannot be defended as tradition, no matter how old or widespread it is. It doesn't matter how many people that are doing it. If it is wrong, it is wrong. Marriages fail from the day of the wedding. Marriages fail from the way we conduct the walima. Marriages fail when we showed openly the hypocrisy that is with us as parents. And by the time these children are married, we expect them to resolve their conflict Islamically, when even the foundation of the wedding itself is that of kufr. Marriages fail when couples are forced to serve some cultural practices that are not in line with Islamic principles of fairness, justice, human dignity, honor, mutual respect, and general beautiful human relations that Islam preaches. However, some cultural practices often carry the weight of generations and some harmful patterns that persist because they were never questioned. Parents may enforce traditions that they also learn from their own upbringing, and unconsciously they pass along these unresolved conflicts or traumas to their children. On the other hand, when couples establish a marriage that is guided by Islam rather than outdated norms and systems that are demeaning to the honor and dignity of the couples, the positive ripple effect can transform not only their own household, but it can also transform the home of their parents, their siblings, and extended family. You know, you can break circles of dysfunction while preserving love and honor in your own family. Respect firmness, and you should be respectful about this. Whenever you want to talk to the elders as young people, even though you disagree with some of the things they are saying or doing, you have to be respectful in your firmness, and you need to teach the elders new ways to relate. Let them know that there's nothing wrong when husband and wife love each other and they show love to one another. Let them know that there's nothing wrong if the husband and wife relate with each other without editing themselves. Let them know that there's nothing wrong if the husband assists the wife once in a while. Let them know that there's nothing wrong if the wife appears to be all and all to her husband. Do you know that in some cultures, you cannot relate with each other with love in the presence of some people? By the time you are doing that, they translate it to mean something else. But show them good example. How Islam wants you to call your husband by nice name. Don't call him Abu. Don't call him Abu. Call him some sweet names. Let them know that Islam likes you to call your wife with beautiful name. You don't just call her by name in public. You can call her darling. You can call her honey. All of those people you guys call one another. Call her, aloe vera. Anything you want to call your wife. Because in your culture, when you start calling your wife sweet names, they think she has done something to control you. No, show them that there's nothing wrong in showing love to one another. Once in a while, you can even hold hands. It doesn't matter in the presence of your parents, but they don't understand what these things are all about. You can massage your wife's back. Nothing is wrong with that. You can sit down and gist with your husband. You can laugh together. You can even watch TV together. You can discuss together. As a husband, you have a reasonable wife. You can seek her opinion. There's nothing wrong with this. Never mind these uncles that tell you don't discuss with a woman. In other words, your model of Islamic marriage that is grounded in justice and love strengthens not only your marriage, but the entire family lineage, countering trauma and perpetuating blessings. Let them know that yes, we can quarrel. It's normal to quarrel, but you apologize to one another after the quarrel and you move on as if nothing has happened. Let them know that, look, it's me and my wife, it's me and my husband. We had a quarrel, we have settled, we have forgiven each other, we have moved on. They don't have to call you to a family meeting to say we are fixing a date. Now, look at this. This family, they heard that, I'm talking about this parent, they heard that there was a quarrel, right? Fine. They now say, okay, the husband and wife should hold on before they can settle the quarrel. They have to wait for another 3 months when the whole family will be able to gather. They will now call the husband, call the wife, ask them to start explaining themselves so that they can be judging. What is that now? What's all that drama? Husband and wife, you offended each other by Maghrib, by Isha, you already settled and you move on. That is the Islam I'm talking about. Not the one that you call the whole family, and not the one that the whole family want to put their nose into what is happening in your home. If they do this, it's your fault. Couples, it's your fault. You are the ones who don't know how to settle yourselves. So, in a nutshell, the point I'm trying to make is that a home built on Islam can accommodate culture where that culture brings beauty and harmony, but it must reject it where it brings harm to the couples. When Islam is returned its rightful place as the ultimate standard of life, marriages regain clarity, marriages regain balance, and then you have the courage to choose what is right over what is merely familiar. Most of these things are just familiar. It doesn't mean that they are right. So take note of all of these things. I'm not saying you should disagree with your parents every time, but at least show them that you don't have problem. Show them that you have resolved your issues, and show them that you are ready to live your life in accordance with the beauty of Islam. If there's any part of your culture that is sweet, like the culture of respect to parents, being nice to your parents, being good to them, and buying gifts for them, these are nice cultures that we should do. And these cultures are part and parcel of Islam. But whenever a culture brings about anything that's going to scatter your marriage, please be very respectful to these your parents and these your uncles and aunties, and let them know that Islamic principle is not in support of some of these things. May Allah make it easy for you young couples as you try to cope with the shitty things that these parents have imposed on you. Forgive me for using that language. Then let's go to number 6 now, so that you can have your lives back. Apart from the parents, there's also the point number 6, the dangers of third-party interference in the marriage. We have been talking about parents now. There are many other third parties apart from parents, and let me quickly mention that now. Marriage is designed to be an intimate partnership, yet many homes become crowded with uninvited voices. Today, interference is not limited to parent-in-laws, siblings, extended relatives, friends, community elders, religious figures, that's so imams, and even the social media mentors. They often insert themselves into marital affairs, all under the guise of advice or concern. Advice that is unverified, advice that is biased, and advice that is selective can be as harmful as parental control that we are talking about. While counsel can be beneficial, interference becomes destructive when outsiders gain influence over decisions that should remain private and mutual. One of the greatest harms of third-party involvement is the erosion of confidentiality. When private struggles are shared carelessly, they are rarely returned with balance or mercy. Instead, stories are retold with bias, with emotions, and some of these emotions are even amplified, and some sides are chosen already. A spouse who becomes the subject of communal discussion loses dignity, and they lose trust within the marriage, and then you see the whole trust thing begins to fracture between the two of them, because what should have been resolved in quiet wisdom becomes public conflict. And maybe some of you, when you quarrel, you quickly put it on your status. You had disagreement with your husband. The next thing people will say on your status, it's something like, okay, life goes on. or I'm taking life one day at a time, or nobody can frustrate life out of me, or the toxic people around me should take note that I'm not ready to die of poison. All of those kind of things. You know, people post on, once people see your DP, they know you have problem. Then you take one stupid, you know, like, why am I speaking like this today? Yeah, you take one stupid picture of yourself, selfie like that. You put yourself looking sober, put yourself looking sad, put yourself as if you are crying, and then you put it on your status, and then everybody will be like, what happened? Why do you look so sad today? Then discussion will begin about what you and your husband discussed last night. What kind of a person is that? Excuse me. Then people who don't know anything about you will begin to argue on your stories. Is that what you want for your marriage? No. You are the one that should not allow third parties to come in. Another danger of third parties lies in misplaced authority. Friends may project their own marital frustrations, siblings may compete for influence, and even religious figures may be selectively quoted to support one side while ignoring justice and context. You know what I mean? It's not those scholars online that are wrong. It is you that take your matters to them. You give them only one side of the story, and then they pass fatwa or they give a judgment, and then people begin to think that is the right thing to do. You know what I mean now? Okay, you are in Nigeria here. You are taking fatwa from somebody in Saudi, and the fatwa they gave you in Saudi is based on what obtains with marital realities in Saudi. Now you want to cut and paste that on your own marriage in Nigeria or in Ghana or in Cameroon or in Chad or in South Africa or in UK or in US or in China or in India. It's not gonna work because there are certain details you will have omitted. You did not tell this caller everything. You didn't tell them that you are the one who started it all. You didn't tell them that you have some bad upbringing that has made you to have that stupid sense of entitlement. You will not tell those callers. You will now quote the part that suits you from what they say, and everybody will think that is what Islam is preaching. Now you see you are doing more harm than good now, not only to yourself and to your family, but to the belief of people about Islamic justice, a sense of justice, and the context of a particular fatwa or rulings in the Sharia. So couples must be alert to red flags, voices that demand loyalty to them over the spouse, voices that exaggerate faults. Don't agree, don't accept, I will never accept that kind of thing. How can he behave like that? That's not a nice thing to do. Don't accept. They exaggerate faults, or the voices that encourage secrecy and division. Don't tell your husband what happened today. Don't tell anybody. Don't even tell your wife. All of those kind of things. These are voices on the social media mostly, and it's your fault. While guidance is welcome when sought, over-reliance on external opinions, especially without the couple's consent, can quietly erode trust. It can replace intimacy with dependence on outsiders for decision-making. You place your life out there on the social media so that every Tom, Dick, and Harry will begin to advise on what to do with your marriage. You are wrong. Something is wrong about that. Islam values shura, that's consultation, but it has to be with people who are learned, with people who are trained, with professionals. The people out there that you are throwing the matters of marriage to, they are not professionals. They are just people who are naysayers, people who are just voicing out their own opinion. But Islam also insists that consultation must be with those who are trustworthy, knowledgeable, and genuinely neutral. A marriage can only thrive when its boundaries are respected. Every voice that enters a home must be intentionally invited. It must be limited in scope and must be dismissed when it threatens the unity of your marriage. Third parties should support reconciliation, not control outcomes. When couples learn to protect their space and resolve conflicts with maturity and discretion, they claim the tranquility that Allah intended for marriage. They claim it and they reclaimed the sakina that Allah intended for their marriage. So take note of that point number 6, that most of the time it is your fault when you take these things out. There is danger of third parties interference in your marriage. Even your parents, they are only allowed to intervene, not to interfere. Do you want me to speak that English again? Parents are allowed to intervene. It's intervention we require from them, not interference. Check your dictionary to get more details of the difference between intervention and interference. Now, let's move on to the last point now. Point number 7. The Islamic balance. Honoring parents without destroying marriage. Islam does not force believers, especially if you're a Muslim. Even if you are not a Muslim, Islam does not force you to choose between your parents and your spouse. And I don't think any culture in the world would do that if that culture or religious belief is right and if it is just. But what I know is that Islam does not force you to choose between your parents and your spouse. Islam teaches you how to give each their rightful place. Balance in Islam is not emotional convenience, it is moral clarity. Parents are owned. They are owed the honor that we give to them. We owe them that honor. We owe them kindness and we owe them respect. But marriage demands loyalty, justice, and protection on the other side. When these roles are confused, oppression enters quietly and sometimes under the name of righteousness. There's this concept that we refer to as birrul walidain. Birrul walidain does not mean surrendering one's marriage to parental control, and doesn't require silence in the face of harm. The Prophet ﷺ never taught obedience that enabled injustice. The Prophet modeled firmness with gentleness, respect without fear, and boundaries without severance. You can have your boundaries, but don't cut off family ties. You can respect people, but don't fear them. That's what it is. You can be firm, but you should be gentle. A spouse who cannot protect their partner from emotional or structural harm has misunderstood both marriage and obedience to parents. You see, marriage establishes a new authority structure. Decisions about the home, about finances, about intimacy and conflict resolution belong first to husband and wife. Parents may advise, but they cannot govern. When justice demands resistance to harmful interference, Islam permits, and sometimes Islam obligates, a respectful refusal. A phrase in the Quran when your parents are on the wrong side is "Fala tuti'huma." Wa in jahadaka litushrika bi ma laysa laka bi ilmun fala tuti'huma. The Quran says "Fala tuti'huma." Don't follow them. That is, if they are on the wrong side and they are trying to drag you to become unjust or to become oppressive. True righteousness is measured by fairness, not by appeasement. Not because, I don't want to offend my mother. I want my mother to be happy. So because of that, she said I should not touch you for the next 3 months. You know, that kind of thing. I'm just exaggerating. I'm just exaggerating. In some instances like that. Righteousness is for fairness now. If a Muslim and you are a just person, you know that fairness and justice are very important and they are non-negotiable in marriage. Not because you want to satisfy your uncle and then you start beating your wife because they say you are a bastard if you don't deal with your wife for what she said. And you know the kind of thing you did to frustrate her before she said some things. Now, your uncle got to hear about it and they say they are going to disown you if you don't divorce your wife. It's life like that. You will divorce your wife now, you become empty and hollow, and you become you become lonely and frustrated, and your uncle still has his 4 wives intact. Shame on you. In other words, true righteousness is measured by fairness, not by appeasement. Not that, okay, my mother said I must divorce my wife, and she didn't do anything wrong. She's on the right path. She had not offended you, mother of your children, the love of your life, your darling that you chose each other when both of you had nothing. Your mother just woke up one day, maybe she drank too much pap, and then she said you should go divorce your wife. And you two, you are there, you are shaking as if you are confused. You are not confused. You only don't understand the Sharia. Sharia encourages inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. Allah commands justice and fairness. It's not because you want to appease somebody and then you scatter your family. At the end of it all, you are back on your own and you have nothing to show for it. Look, Brothers and sisters, Islam is not a religion of faith alone. It's a religion of knowledge. Deep knowledge about what is required of you by Almighty Allah. And you are to follow the guidance of Allah, the Quran and Sunnah, without any fear or favor. The only thing is that the balance Islam calls for is courageous and wise. It allows love without control. It allows respect without oppression. It allows family ties without destruction. When couples learn to stand upright, honoring their parents while safeguarding their marriage, they fulfill both trusts. And in that balance lays the tranquility, the sakina that Allah promised to those who build their homes upon the guidance of Allah. Get it? So you got to balance up. Educate your parents before problems come. Discuss the Sharia with them before you are in trouble. Love them by making them understand that you now have knowledge of the Sharia. Some of the parents, forgive me for saying this, I'm not talking about your own mother or your father. Some of them are so ignorant you can't believe it. They may be Muslims, but they know nada about the provision of the Sharia. So who is going to teach them now? You want somebody to come from outside to explain Allah's words to them? That is why da'wah is very important. Don't just say because they are your parents, you don't do da'wah to them. I'm not saying you should go and bring some crazy akida from somewhere that will start calling your parents idol worshippers, or that will start insulting their integrity as human beings, that will start offending them, repressing them, disrespecting them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you understanding things and being so wise and diplomatic in making them see what is wrong and what is right, in making them see your viewpoint and why you disagree with some things. You don't have to wait until when there is conflict before you start explaining to them. I'm saying this with all sense of fear and responsibility, that some of us, well, I want to say I'm a young person. Yes, please, take that from me. Some of us young people, we don't know how to address older generation. We insult them, we abuse their intelligence, and we think they are going to listen to us. No, they won't listen to us. Some of them have been through hell. Some of them have gone through shitty marriages. Some of them have gone through trauma in their life. They don't even know right from wrong anymore. And they want to impose some of this on us unknowingly sometimes, unconsciously sometimes. They are just trying to be nice. It's not that they want to be wicked. But if you are not careful, you and your wife, you gang against your parents and you start keeping malice with them. Shame on you. It's not only that parents can be wrong sometimes, but some of us, we can even be more wrong than these parents. You don't have respect. You don't have honor. They didn't teach you in your halakha. They didn't teach you in your ta'lim, in your masjid, that you should respect your parents. You go home, open your big mouth, and you insult them. You insult their integrity. You call them ignorant, and you deal with them as if they are non-entities. Allah is still going to ask you about that too. Birrul walidain is commanded by Allah, is non-negotiable. You have to be just and kind towards them. So if you cannot be just and kind towards them, then shame on you and the Islam you practice. I'm saying this not because we are just talking to parents. We also have to talk to the young people too. There should be a balance somewhere. They are not always wrong. They are only telling you what they know. And if you think you know better, you don't have to show them or prove to them. You should explain yourself. And wherever there is disagreement, you refer to Allah and His Rasul. The Prophet ﷺ, whose sunnah you follow, the Prophet was kind, he was clement, he was merciful. He never disrespected anybody, no matter the circumstance. Get it? Now, let me begin to wind down now before you get too bored with my long wind. Let's have some of these closing notes to summarize. Many marriages do not fail because husbands and wives are wicked, not because they are unloving or insincere. They fail because adults were never taught how to transition from being controlled children into responsible spouses. Love was confused with obedience. Respect was confused with silence. And loyalty was confused with surrender. As a result, marriages were entered with good intentions, but without the emotional independence required to sustain them. And that's why you see some really smart people who can't get a hold on how marriage works. smart people but bad marriages. It's because of the way they were brought up. They were brought up to be smart, to be book smart, to be brilliant and intelligent in school. But when it comes to marriage, they fail woefully. When love is not separated from control, marriages will suffocate. Parents may love deeply, but love without limits can still harm. Advice without boundaries can still destroy. And good intentions, when unchecked by justice and wisdom, can quietly dismantle the very homes that you seek to protect. Marriage demands a higher loyalty, a loyalty to fairness, to justice, to mercy, to love, and to responsibility. If you are married, your first obligation is to justice because Allah is just. Your next obligation is to your spouse because Allah made them your garment and your trust. And above all, your loyalty is to Allah, whose commands never contradict wisdom or compassion. When justice is upheld, marriages heal. When boundaries are respected, love flourishes. And when Allah is placed above culture, control, and fear, the home becomes a place of sakina, a place of tranquility, a place of dignity, and a place of lasting peace. Now let us pay a tribute to exemplary parents. You see, much of this lecture has focused on the challenges that arise when parental influence oversteps. It is equally important to honor the parents who get it right. In fact, it's not all of them that were wrong. Some of them really got it right. In terms of parental style, in terms of child upbringing, in terms of the way they still support us even after we get married. Those rare, wise souls who understand that their role changes when their children marry, we need to pay a special tribute to them. These mothers, these fathers, these parents, they know when to speak and when to remain silent. They recognize that love is not control and respect is not interference. They are guided by fairness. They are never biased to say this is my child or this is my son-in-law or this is my daughter-in-law. And they honor their children and their spouses as responsible adults. Such parents become a source of strength rather than stress. They celebrate victories. They offer guidance without demanding obedience. And they provide support without undermining autonomy. If there's any conflict, they encourage the spouses to resolve it by giving them the tools, the advice, and the tip to take care of things amongst themselves. They offer guidance without spoon feeding. They cheer for the couple's growth. They listen with empathy. And they offer wisdom when invited. They never impose their will under the guise of care. Their presence in a marriage is a blessing, not a burden. Great parents-in-laws. Yes, these are the great parents-in-law. They are a demonstration of the power of emotional intelligence and spiritual maturity. They understand that the ultimate goal of parenting is not lifelong control, but the cultivation of adults who can love, adults who can lead, and adults who can sustain their own households without any interference from anyone. By letting go when necessary, they allow their children to flourish while maintaining the dignity of all people that are involved in that marriage. May Allah bless all parents who honor this balance, and may Allah guide all of those who have fallen way beyond the principle of justice and fairness in dealing with their children, and the parents who have contributed knowingly and unknowingly to the breakage of the marriages of their children. May Allah forgive them. And as for you children, you are responsible now. You are on your own now. You cannot blame your parents for anything anymore. You cannot blame them for the way they brought you up. You cannot blame them for a trauma of the past. You are a person of your own now, so you better wake up now and stop looking for who to blame. Wake up now. It's not your uncle that used to beat his wife that made you to beat your own wife now. Better wake up now. It's not that your auntie that destroyed her marriage that is making to destroy yours now. You are all on your own. You got to have sense of responsibility. So as for the great parents that we are talking about, the good parents that we are talking about. May Allah grant us all the wisdom to emulate them, to respect their guidance while protecting the sanctity of our homes, and to raise children who will one day become husbands and wives capable of love, justice, and mercy. Such parents are rare treasures. If they are still alive, take very good care of them. Go and visit them and buy them gifts. These parents are pillars of strong families, and they are true exemplars of birrul walidain that is done appropriately. They know their roles and they have fulfilled their roles, and they are still playing such roles even up to now. They love and they respect you. You should love and respect them back, because it's not all parents who failed. We still have these great parents who suffered and sacrificed the whole of their life to make you to be who you are today. They gave you everything that is necessary. They gave you everything that you require. They equipped you and they gave you all the tools and wisdom, all the resilience and the strength. They showed you example of what it means to be strong, what it means to be yourself, and what it means to hold your head high with honor and dignity. They did everything they could, and they even sacrificed some part of their own pleasure just to make you who you are today. You have to be grateful to them, and should hold yourself responsible for whatever happens to your marriage from now on. As for you guys and ladies, sons-in-law and daughters-in-law, the tables are turning and the chairs are moving. What sort of fathers-in-law and mothers-in-law are you gonna become when it is your turn? We shall see. Inshallah, we shall see. But until then, my name is Abdulfattah Adeyemi. Thank you very much indeed. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Welcome to a place where we celebrate your greatness and nurture your path to even greater accomplishments. Acquire Abdulfattah Adeyemi's soul-lifting handmade masterpieces and experience the divine beauty of Islamic artistry. Join the community. Transform your life. Edit your universe.